So I don't know if you had any thoughts on the idea of what makes a witch. Is a witch the counterpart to a wizard or actually a different category? Um, I'm gathering, this is my research project. I just ask people that are kind of in the spiritual realm of how they conceive of these concepts. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Like my magic right now is helping people uncover these gems inside of themselves and live really happy, healthy lives. And so, what I'm alchemizing as a witch, as a modern day witch, is the power of nature. So, physically, like the scientific components of an herb, but also the spirit of that herb and the spirit of nature in general, how healing that is. And then also bringing in the intuition that I've built, like the connection that I have with my guides and the spiritual world, and bringing all that together to deliver like a potion or a spell to
Absolutely.
a client.
Greetings, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today, our guest dreamer is Elisa Williams-Sin, currently residing in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's fantastic. I talk to people from all over the world, and I will talk to you too. She is a modern-day witch, herbalist, coach, and part-time astrologer, creating spaces for people to connect with their purpose and health so that they can live with vitality. And we're going to have a lot of fun talking to her. I already have. I caught some of it on cameras. We'll see. Maybe I should start making clips again. I don't know. I better stay on topic. We don't have long. For my part, would you kindly like, share, and subscribe? Tell your friends. Always need more volunteer dreamers. I do video game streams Monday through Friday, most days of the week, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific. This episode still, as with many of the other ones, features my most recent published work. It is book 18 of the ABC series, Augury, Bibliomancy, and Chaos. The title is Oniro Chronologia, Volume 4, Prima Reliquorum. That's Latin for the first of what remains. It is a supplemental addendum to the original trivium of Oniro Chronologia. And once again, it is an anthology work collecting 3 shorter pieces into one volume, so you don't have to go find them for yourself. They're edited very nicely, if I do say so myself, and reproduced for your edification. Of course, you can find all this and more at benjaminthedreamwizard.com, including downloadable or live streamable audio-only MP3s of this very podcast, so you may take the wizard with you wherever you wander, with or without Wi-Fi. And last but not least, if you'd head on over to benjaminthedreamwizard.locals.com, it is free to join, attached to my Rumble account. One of the best places to reach out to me if you have a dream, and that is more than enough out of me. Elisa, thank you for being here, and thank you for correcting me on how to pronounce your name properly.
Yeah, everyone does it. Everyone does
It
it.
is an uncommon pronunciation, which is fantastic because you are unique, and also a hassle because you have to correct everyone that only knows the other way. I always
Yeah.
think of like Alyssa Milano when I see that, because she was one of my first crushes back when I was a teenager as well. It sounds weird to say it any other way. Like, she was one of my first crushes. Okay, I was 14 too, so it was okay.
Yeah, I remember being in elementary school and there was the same spelling in a book that we read, and it was the greatest day ever when people said Elisa as her name. I just realized I had won in that moment, and maybe I'm on a mission to change the pronunciation nationwide.
It would be as if everyone pronounced my name Benjamin, and I'm like, oh, that's not it. That's not it. The emphasis is on the wrong syllable. Uh, can't do that. That's not good. Oh, they would hit my ear so wrong all the time. I worked with no other identifying features. A person legally distinct from myself may or may not have worked with a client once whose name was Clarice, and you wouldn't believe the number of Silence of the Lambs references she heard for her entire life. She was just resigned to it. She's like, yeah, I've heard that before. I'm like, I didn't think I was being original. I just was trying to be funny, but close enough. So, oh, you know what? I didn't ask you. I knew I was forget. I always forget something. Swiss cheese for brains. What is the best place for people to reach out to you if they want to connect on the internet or something? Like, what's a good link I can throw in the description?
Yeah. Um, Instagram is great. I am at the Balanced Herbalist. And then I also have a website, which is my first name, AWALYSSA WS.com. So ElisaWS.com.
Okay. Do you have a preference for which one I should throw into? Like, if I only put one link in the bio, I'll put
Yeah,
both in the bio. But
Instagram.
okay,
Instagram.
definitely Instagram. Okay, nice. This put a check mark next to that one. All right. Well, I am a wizard by trade and not a very good interviewer, so I never know where to start. I mean, anywhere you want to. Like, I'm not asking. Probably everyone asking, well, how did you get into this and decide to, blah blah blah. A lot of people have a book for sale. Sometimes we start there. Um, yeah, I don't know. What do you think is the most relevant? Or God, now I'm putting you on the spot. I should be better than this. I told you can't do this wrong. That's for the dreaming part. This for the interview part. I can't do it right. I don't know what I'm doing. Do you have a place do you tend to like to start when you're talking about yourself and your enterprise?
Yeah, I mean, I can just speak a little bit to my work because I feel
Yeah,
like it involves the in a in a there's a string to dreams in there because um I really went on a journey. I would say now it's been maybe 8 years
mm,
of just rediscovering myself. I was in a corporate job for a long time and was facing a lot of burnout and just feeling very misaligned with my life. And so I started seeking to understand myself. And I realized the more that I was uncovering that knowing myself was the most important work I could do. And if I could find that reason for being that I could always come back to, and if I could feel really good in myself, then not that nothing else matters, but that could be the foundation I build my life on. And
definitely.
a big part of that was actually dreams because I started to really listen to my intuition and I tried to do practices to kind of tap more into my subconscious mind. And I started writing down all my dreams. And at first it was like not much, and then now it's been at least like 8 years. Um, and I remember I have vivid dreams every night. I always write them down. I
Wow.
actually I have a dream. I have a dream idea to make a coffee table book that illustrates all my dreams. Like find a really cool illustrator artist
Very cool.
to just
Yeah.
illustrate crazy, crazy wild dreams.
There,
So,
there was one guy I found on the internet when I was doing research. This was like 5 years ago. For like, who is anyone doing dream interpretation? Like, I found nobody does what I do. Like nobody. There are people who do specifically. Oh, the spirits are telling me this is what your dream means, or I hear the voice of God in the way of inspired interpretations. But no one was just doing like straight psychology. Let's just talk about it and figure it out together. So long story short, I found a guy who I think it was called bite-sized nightmares or something, and he would take people's descriptions of their dreams and then do videos that kind of added. So I was walking down the hallway and he'd get a video of a dark hallway and he would tilt it as
mhm.
we were moving, things like that. That was fascinating. So a coffee table book sounds cool too. And it 5 years ago we didn't have AI. Couldn't just go to whatever chat GPT and say, hey, draw me a picture. But you could do that, and you could do it in any style you want. It could be like the illustrations as found in the popular fairy book or whatever. It's for a particular dream. um yeah, no, I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah, I think it would be very cool. And I have done some of my dreams with what's it called? The AI image one. Starts with an M. Now I can't remember what it is.
No, me
Anyway,
either.
yeah, there's one specific for images, and I have put some dreams in there, which has been very hilarious.
Very cool. Yeah, yeah. So you did dream work with yourself. Do you do that as a part of your practice with clients at all, or is that kind of you advise them to do it for themselves?
Yeah, I don't do it with clients just because I feel ill-equipped. But I will say I've inspired a few people to start writing down their dreams. And now, um, yeah, I had a friend the other day. She's actually the one that sent me this link,
Oh,
or like that you were looking for people, um, because she knows that my dream life and that she was inspired by it. Now she's remembering her dreams, and we talk about our dreams a lot. Um, but yeah, with my clients, it's more
oh no,
I work with a lot of corporate clients as well, and people that are very much in that world. And so my work is a lot more camouflaging like spiritual practices to be very accessible, and to almost start to plant those seeds of getting people to think about, these things like they may not have thought about before, like what their dreams mean. And so it might be a suggested practice, but I wouldn't uh, be the one to to interpret it. Yeah.
Fair enough. I try to do the same in terms of staying in my lane. Like so that's where I divide, and it's I start, as I've said this many times, I start like 16 sentences. I can't finish one until I figure out what I'm trying to say. I divide dreams into two broad categories at the top level, and it is in the in a way hard science, psychological side of things, and then the other side is and I say it lovingly, the spiritual spooky woo side of things, which I don't have a lot of facility with, which is a weird thing for, say, a wizard to say. But, a lot of what I do is just branding and philosophical. But I don't, and the reason I do that is that I can't tell if you bring a dream to me and say, Ben, is this a prophetic dream? It feels like it to me. I'd say, I have no idea. Like I couldn't tell you the difference until we find out whether it comes true. And then in retrospect, sure it was. So I very much appreciate that too, but there's a unique talent that I probably don't have. So I would describe, the corporate world as soul crushing. Now that's just for me. Maybe some people love it. I'm a bit too much of a contrarian, oppositional, defiant, free spirit who just needs to work alone at his own pace, doing his own thing, mad scientist style. And I would have a hard time working with corporate clients to adapt well to a corporate environment or improve, because I can't live there. I have no idea what your good luck to you. So it's nice that you've got that talent to say, translate spiritual practices, which I think people can't do without. It isn't like it's only for a certain kind of people. I think it's universal to the human condition. So to be able to say, well, here's how to keep a certain indispensable part of yourself healthy while you're engaged in stuff and maybe we need the corporate world, and it's not for everybody, but that doesn't mean it's bad necessarily. And I've had, through the years too, in my experience, I did, as I said, 20 years in inpatient psychiatric. There's a whole corporate structure to that and a hell of a lot of rules, and you got to toe that line. And if you cross it, it can be not just a lawsuit, but people can die. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So there's good reasons for it, but then, if you're the type of person that's stifling, you got to get out, and you got to know that I paid my dues. I'm like, I'm ready to be a wizard, ready to do something else. But anyway, so how do you do that? How do you take people that are kind of maybe stuffy, rule following, very practical minded, and open their mind a little bit to spiritual stuff in the right terminology? What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, it can look many ways, but like you said in my introduction, I focus a lot on purpose, and then I also focus on energy, which can kind of also be health. We call it health in layman's terms.
Mm-hmm.
So some examples. So with the purpose work that I do, I have a workshop I do with corporate called the Career Sweet Spot, and it's actually based on Ikigai, which, if you haven't heard of it, it's a concept that comes from Okinawa, Japan, and it's essentially that everybody has skills, experience, values, and dreams, and if you combine all of these things, in the center is kind of this reason for being on Earth. And essentially, it's your purpose. And it's not a job title and it's not a career. Your job can be a reflection of that, which is the goal. But ultimately, you're trying to uncover, who am I without all these things? And when I'm 98 years old, that is what's going to keep me alive. It's not going to be my job. So, that's an example of one of the workshops that I do, where I'm really trying to get people to think, yeah, just like beyond their typical definition of purpose. And then on the health side, with herbalism, I mean, the whole modality is this idea that the body will rebalance itself naturally in the right environment. And environment can mean so many things, right? It can mean our relationships, it can mean the food that we eat, it can mean the city that we live in. If our soul doesn't want to live there, we're not going to be healthy there.
Hmm.
So I use uh a fun tea ceremony to get people to start to tap into the unique energetics of their body. So we'll drink a tea, but sit with it super deeply so you can start to feel how the energy in your body changes. Like, do you suddenly feel that you feel like this energy moving outwards, or maybe you notice that there's a sensation coming up to your head, and you get people to realize that if they tap into this energy that lives inside of them, they can learn so much about themselves. Um, yeah, and then it can go on to when you talk about energy with people, I feel like it's very like, oh, an energy worker, or like that doesn't, none of that actually works. But if you can start to get people to feel the flow of energy inside themselves, they're like, wait, maybe, maybe it is possible to like harness this life force energy and do something with it, or, guide it. So that was a long answer, but those are kind of two examples of things that I bring to groups, because I do group work. 90% is all in group, which I think is powerful.
Gotcha. Very, very cool. Like, see, that's probably something I couldn't do. I don't think I could teach a class or group work in that time. I'm much better on one. And I need a lot of alone time as well. I'm like, after this, I won't talk to anyone for the rest of the day. Maybe my wife over dinner. That's about it. Which was another. So we were talking about so much good. I should have written it. I just was listening. That's actually good. I was not looking for things to say, so things occurred to me as you were talking about it. But the proper fit is one thing too, of like, so the corporate environment just wasn't for me, and nothing wrong with it, but that's not where my soul thrived in that sense. I don't think I could live in a place where it is perpetually cold and snowy, even though I do enjoy winter, and I do enjoy summer, but getting the right fit is very much a good deal. And then also the concept of rituals or ceremonies can be very good. Like, we all have routines, and we don't realize those are in a lot of ways our rituals. This is how we greet the day in the morning. I wake up, get a cup of coffee, sit down, and argue with idiots on Twitter for a minute or whatever, and then but also browse the news, listen to some podcasts, like what's going on today, and put myself in the mindset of what I need to review what I need to get done. So and if that works for you, works for you. If it's not working, maybe you take a second look at it and change. But then there's the idea of this the energy stuff, and in the course of republishing, editing and republishing historical dream literature, which is everything I've got so far. I'm getting to original work soon, I promise. But I've come across a lot of people in the past searching for what is the energy that drives us. And I mean, we use a lot of different words for it. Vitality is one. And there was I think it was a French word that someone came up with, elan vital, and it was one of the terms they were trying to generate, coagulate in a way that Freud would call the life drive. It's like what moves us forward. And that's why he didn't actually say everything comes down to sex. Everything comes down to the life drive, which, yes, includes reproduction and attraction and all these different things. But within that, a lot of all of this, it's going somewhere, I swear. You think you talk a lot. Let me tell you. Don't let me tell you. Cut me off anytime. But they also talk about what dreams are in that regard as an expression of the life drive or elan vital, and the fact of attention, and that our attention gets involuntarily drawn to some things, and that is often an expression of something. Okay, something caught your eye, and that happens. Wait, I'll get to that in a second. Why did it catch your eye? What made it appealing to you? Why were you drawn to it? We have all these different phrases of, that's why they called hypnotism in the way back in the day, called it animal magnetism, because they were just discovering a lot of scientific principles at that time, and magnetism was big. And still, I'll tell you, people out there, that Insane Clown Posse song, Magnets, how do they work? We still don't know. We don't know. We know that they do work. We can watch them work. We think we understand it, but why? Why does that happen? Why is that a phenomenon? We don't know. But anyway, long story short on that. And the other half of it was in dreams, like, why do specific dreams happen? Why do we choose to focus on that? And this is what's happening in our, why do some things bubble up from our subconscious and other things don't? Why do we
Mhm.
choose to attend to one thing or not? And just in the realm of, and I've said a lot and I'm going to throw it back to you, I swear, in the realm of success in business and happiness in a profession, sometimes we're attempting to force our attention onto something for the necessity of a financial gain when we're not really into it. We just do. I needed a job, so I'm here. I'm here for the paycheck, people say, and it's not really connecting life purpose and stuff with that. So, just to bookend this, what I did was, after 20 years, I got the experience, I got the paychecks, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, well, what do I love about the job? Can I do that without working in a corporate environment, in a very tightly controlled hospital setting? I just love talking to people and helping them figure stuff out and educating in a way. I don't really consider myself a teacher, but pointing at things that are both interesting and useful, I hope. It's kind of, so like, let me do that some other way. Let me see if I can do this dream thing. So, and I'm going to shut up for 2 seconds and let you get a word in edgewise. I don't know if you wanted to respond to any of that, or
No,
if
I
it
mean,
touches on your practice.
I find it what you do so fascinating. So it's really
Thank you.
cool to hear the transition and how it's all come about. Um, yeah, I think there's so much. I would say the last thing I'll say is that we seem like we seem kind of like all or nothing people because we're a little out there. And I know for me, I was like, you know what, screw it. I gotta quit. I got no plan, but I gotta just leave this thing. Um, Whereas part of my work too is getting people to, you don't have to overhaul your whole life. It doesn't have to be hard. Like people get so intimidated by new practices, new rituals, exploring themselves is scary, but it doesn't have to be a lot. You can join an employee resource group that has something to do with your passion, and maybe that is going to change the whole experience of being in corporate. Um, and so, yeah, I just think it's more about the small things and not getting overwhelmed by the vastness of life.
No, I think it's a very powerful point too. Is a lot of people are afraid, maybe is not the right word, or reluctant to engage in certain kinds of exploration because, and I think there's a big factor of fear of the unknown. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to discover. Number one, they may not think it worked, but it may not think it works, but sometimes I think a facade for the idea of, if I start opening certain doors, I don't know what I'm going to find. And I would rather just be comfortably unhappy than uncomfortably seeking whatever it is. But I think then also a lot of people hit a point where like, this just isn't working. I'm unhappy enough that something's got to give. And I'd say that's probably the point at which people start to open up to the idea of searching, and then breaking through. That's a fantastic point too. The idea that it doesn't have to be, you're not moving to India and joining a cult. I mean, it's something completely different. You're still you in your place where you are. And at the end of the experience, you could decide to change some things or not, but you can go into it with an open mind and just say, let's see what this is all about. Let's see if I can find some connection to, direction to go that brings greater fulfillment. And I can't think of anyone that wouldn't want that necessarily. Like if I could just give you a pill, it says, this is your purpose pill. You will find out what your purpose is and you will be ecstatic to pursue that. They would go, yes, please. If it was easier. And, and it can be as easy as, come and do a little tea ceremony, and you might come out of it a changed person, even a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying about rituals too, and that's actually, there's a ritual aspect to a lot of things we do. There's even a ritual aspect to psychology. People think of ritual as religion or spiritual, but if you go to a person and say, Doc, I'm afraid of elevators, and they're like, we're going to do exposure therapy. That is a ritual practice that has a specific purpose to it. We're going to decrease the distress of using elevators. Not on day one. First, we're going to sit in the office and we're going to talk about elevators. That's our entire session today. That's as close as you're going to get. Then we're going to look at a picture. Then maybe we're going to go stand in the lobby and look at the elevator and watch other people use it. And this ritual of exposure, it anxiety decreases, and eventually they're able to push the buttons and write on their own. And most people, it doesn't always work, but I love that. And that's one thing I love doing with the whole, I want people to understand the world is more magical than you think, that these, a lot of things we've divided off into spiritual practice actually has very practical application if you understand what it's for, what it's doing. And that reminds me too, there's a European church tradition in a lot of places, not everywhere, but of a labyrinth on the floor. And what it is it's actually one solid line that twists back onto itself so that it's contained in a smaller space. But it's not a puzzle. It's not a maze to solve. You just meditate or pray, do the rosary, whatever it is, and walk this labyrinth. So your body is engaged in something while your mind free floats around these other ideas. And I do that all the time. That's probably dissociating into daydreams is my number one talent. I just have thoughts. They just come to me. And then I got to bring myself back. It's tough when I'm watching television. I'm like, I have no idea what just happened for the last 10 minutes. I got to go back and rewind it. So,
But I have a great idea.
yeah, no. And then I actually have to stop and write it down because otherwise it's gone. It's gone. I can't tell you how many great ideas I think they're great, humbly the greatest of ideas, that I've lost because I was driving. What are you going to do? I'm going to pull over and take a note. I have actually done that, but not as often as maybe I should have. But, I don't know if there's no question in there. People just say things and then I say things back. I wish I was a better interviewer. I don't know if anything occurred to you want to add to that or talk about any other element of your practice. We haven't talked about the astrology thing. You said part-time astrologer, just kind of for shits and giggles, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, definitely amateur astrologer compared to actual people that do astrology readings. But
Yeah.
I know a good fair amount. I would say again, I think my biggest talent is introducing people to these concepts and opening people's minds. Like I think about with the garden metaphor as an herbalist, like I am really good at planting seeds
Mm.
and I'm good at translating these perhaps very large and inaccessible topics like astrology. If you only know it from, the newspaper daily astrology, you probably think it's hokey or you just don't care enough to dive into it. And I kind of see myself as a bridge between the worlds. So being able to take that language, translate it, and say, like, this is just this really practical way of looking at it. And maybe it doesn't resonate with you, but most of the time it does. And then people are like, oh, that does actually sound a lot like me. And then they're like, well, what about this? And so then it just organically kind of happens. But yeah, I just love it. I've always loved it, like since I was little. That's why I do feel like I was a past life, which like maybe not in a good time, but
Maybe so. Yeah. No, one of the guests I had a couple days ago, at this point, like a month ago, in the sequence of releasing these episodes, we talked about the idea of reincarnation, and I'm on board with it. I think not only have I been around before, but I chose to come back. So, and I realized that I think at a pretty early age of like, did this to myself, and my life isn't even that bad. Just you suffer and you go through bad things, and why was I born, and curse the fates, and it's like, oh yeah, I probably. I wanted to come here and learn some lessons. Maybe I need to be
yeah.
maybe I was really powerful and mean in another life and I needed to be bullied a little bit to here's the other side of the stick, idiot. Don't but in terms of astrology, I am also not well versed in it. I think it's fascinating how it came about and the idea that we drew pictures in the stars, because once upon a time there wasn't so much light pollution, and we could actually see the Milky Way and all and the shapes. We see the big stars and we're like, oh, there's Orion's belt. Well, you don't see the rest of Orion. He's holding a bow. He's doing a whole thing. We can't see it because it's so washed out by the glow of city lights over the horizon. And of course it makes sense that people would start, studying that, and the fact that, hey, these shapes move in a particular way at a particular time of year. And then you get things like Stonehenge. Just the whole history of it is fascinating. And I've always felt a little resonance myself with the idea of being a Pisces, very, very kind of creative,
Yeah.
emotionally connected type of person.
I love you got the whole setup down there, the whole Pisces.
Oh,
I
with
know
the
it's
water. Yeah.
but it's very Very Pisces vibes.
It really is, and also kind of head in the clouds, theoretical a lot of times, and it's actually hard for me to put my feet on the ground a lot of times, and just I think I say a lot of times, too many much. That's okay. We all have our little verbal ticks, and they change day to day sometimes. That's strange too. What I was going to say about that is, oh, so I've never invested astrology with a lot of belief in terms of like, I need to get reading. I need to find out what my future is. You can believe that if you want or don't. It's, but what I did was, like I said, I've always kind of had an appreciation for it felt right to me
Mhm.
what the astrology says I am. But also, I wouldn't read the daily paper astrology section. This is the first thing that occurred to me when you said it. Um, to know my future for the day, but as a meditation for the day. An idea of, so if it says,
Yeah.
you will have an opportunity to do X, Y, or Z, I'll keep an eye out for that. Maybe I will.
Hmm.
Maybe just looking for it will make it a self fulfilling prophecy in the sense that, a lot of those opportunities occur anyway. And if you're paying attention, you'll see them. And then what am I going to do about that? What do I want? What outcome would I prefer? It's just so that's what I would do. That was an old routine of mine. I would read the newspaper before there was online sources. I'm old. Born in the
Well,
seven,
I
born in the
really love that.
70s.
I mean, that's the same with any of these modalities. Like I'm open to anything that helps me discover something new about myself. And even if it's just prompting me to think about myself in a different way and decide whether or not it resonates, like that's enough, you know? And so, yeah. And the thing about the Pisces, a lot of the time, it's called the dreamer.
Oh,
So,
right. That's you get enough synchronicities, and it's got to mean something. That's for
yeah.
sure on that. Well, I'm looking at the time. Do you want to just shift over into the dream thing, and we'll
Yeah, let's do
make
it.
sure we don't
Ready.
lose the opportunity. Let me write a little. We got 36. Okay. So, as per my usual process, first I'm going to shut up and listen. I promise I can do that sometimes. Our friend Lisa is going to tell us the narrative of her dream, beginning to end. Here's what happened. Doesn't have to be long, as we were saying earlier. It's a completely variable and individual. And then the final phase or whatever is just we talk it out and try and collaboratively build an understanding that makes sense to her because the answers are not in me. I'm just kind of a helper. So okay, I'm ready when you are.
Benjamin the Dream Wizard wants to help you pierce the veil of night and shine the light of understanding upon the mystery of dreams. Every episode of his Dreamscapes program features real dreamers gifted with rare insight into their nocturnal visions. New Dreamscapes episodes appear every week on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and other video hosting platforms, as well as free audiobooks exploring the psychological principles which inform our dream experience, and much, much more. To join the wizard as a guest, reach out across more than a dozen social media platforms and through the contact page at benjaminthedreamwizard.com, where you will also find the wizard's growing catalog of historical dream literature available on Amazon, documenting the wisdom and wonder of exploration into the world of dreams over the past 2,000 years. That's Benjamin the Dream Wizard on YouTube and at benjaminthedreamwizard.com.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I was deciding between three different dreams. One
Oh,
is
did you pick one?
probably
Yeah.
entirely too complex for the time
Mm.
that we have today. But speaking of synchronicities, you mentioned fairies earlier. You said something about like, oh, in the image of this fairy book. And I was like, oh, there it is again. So I'm choosing a stream based on that synchronicity.
Nice.
Um, okay, so this was a dream from this week. So it was just a few days ago. At the beginning of the dream, it was Christmas time. So it was holidays, and I was going to Christmas parties with my sister. And I had this feeling like we were running really late. Um, and we got lost, and there was a lot of snow. And um, yeah, it was like winter wonderland vibes. Like I remember thinking like, "Oh wow, this is so beautiful." And I kind of didn't care that we were lost, but then I also felt like I wasn't dressed properly at all. Um, and then it's kind of a blur after that. I think yeah, it's kind of a blur. Maybe more will come back to me when we talk about it. But then later on, it felt like it was the same kind of sequence, but I was then away by myself, and then it was um, springtime. So it was like warm and sunny, and I was outside with one of my good friends, and I noticed that there was this beautiful flower, and it was like a stalk, and it had all these coral colored flowers on it, and I started to see that they were blooming so fast that I could see them blooming like in real time, like as if you're watching one of those like sped up, videos of like a little bulb becoming like its full bloom. So then I went over there and I wanted to film it. And so I started filming it and I was like, wow, this is going to be the coolest video. And then as the blooms were opening, inside of each of the blooms was a fairy. And it was like the face of all these fairies. They all looked different. They were all like beautiful women. And I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. And I was like, I caught this on camera. Everyone's going to believe in fairies now. This is amazing. And so I caught them on camera. And I remember thinking, like, I'm going to prove that fairies are real. And then I checked my phone and I was like, wait, where did the video go? And the video wasn't there. And the fairies communicated with me. And I don't know if they were speaking or if it was like telepathic, but basically they were saying, we can't let you videotape this because you can't prove to people that we're real. Like they have to believe for themselves that we're real. Like we won't allow ourselves to be quote unquote proven. And that's like intentional. And yeah, that was it.
That is fantastic. That's a short one. We really didn't have time for the longer one.
I know.
No, that's great. I think we're going to get a lot of good stuff about it, out of it. So how do I do the collaborative process? I have no idea. It's all intuitive, and I change it up a little bit every time. And maybe I'm exploring and trying to find my way. Maybe I'm adapting it to what I think might work best with the individual person. I don't know, but I tend to do this at the very least. So we go back through it. So we've got in the very beginning, it is Christmas at the holidays. And the action of the dream at that point is, there's snow outside and whatnot. So it's definitely, tis the season in that sense. And you're with your sister and you're going to Christmas parties, but you're lost, but you're enjoying being lost because it's a winter wonderland. So there's a lot going on, in just that portion.
And I'm not dressed properly. Like I remember writing that down, that I wasn't dressed warmly.
So I start writing down words that pop into my head, and sometimes I suggest them, sometimes I try and evoke them if I can. So there's definitely, or appears to be, and you could please correct me if I'm wrong, and you should always feel a little zing if like I hit on something, and cut me off anytime going, oh, when you said that, here's what I thought. Please, that I just ramble until you have something to say, honestly. There's in your mind positive associations with Christmas, counterfactual. You don't dread the holidays because God, I have to see my family again and they were awful. You enjoy it. You're going to parties. You're having a fun time. So you're in a good place. But there's also the idea that it is winter, and I wouldn't normally bring that up necessarily, but it's contrasted with spring. So there's and winter, starting macro, collective unconscious, macro common human experience level. Winter is when the world dies and spring is when it comes back to life. And that way we have that cycle going on. And I think that's one of the reasons we put so many holidays in the winter is to keep us all from killing ourselves in the dark, in the cold. Just
Yeah.
hang on a little longer. There's another celebration coming. Just make it through. Just make it through. That's my personal theory on evolutionary psychology side of things.
Just drink more eggnog. You'll be fine.
And lots of alcohol and the wheat of the barley. Let me tell you, or the blood of the barley liquid. I messed that all up. Juice of the barley. That's what it was. Juice, wheat of the barley. Come on, wheat is barley. So you got that going on. So what would you say about that? Let me stop talking so much. I've given some broad strokes of the idea. How are you conceptualizing this place that you're at and what it means to you personally? The activity, the setting. What would you say about it?
Well, it's interesting because I live very far away from my family, and I am not going to see any of them for Christmas this year. And it's kind of been like
Oh,
weighing on me a little bit. Like I don't feel guilty, but I feel a bit sad. And so I do think there's this part of me that's been craving like being with my family. Um, so yeah, it was an interesting like when, I can't make it to the Christmas party, but at least I'm with my sister and we're in this nice place. But um yeah, like my whole family, this is the first year of my life where we haven't all been together as a family unit at some point. So that comes to mind.
yeah. Not together. That is a good, what am I trying to say? A good realization in a way that tells you, okay, so why is this on your mind? Well, you're having a real life experience of, I love the holidays because I get together with my family. I'm not going to see them this year. So sometimes, and this goes back to, the life drive type of stuff. And even back to Freud will say, every dream conceals a wish. And it says, well, your wish is, I wish I could be together with my family. And this is what it's like when I am. So there's part wish fulfillment going on in there, but also reflecting on the sadness of it. There's two, so we've got those elements of it is winter, holiday season. There's parties. So and probably you're less focused on the, party time element of parties. It's more the gathering, the family gathering of the parties. In the dream, did you know who was going to be at any of these parties? Or you said you were going to parties or a party, or you knew there would be multiple. Were you expecting to see more family? Do you have any sense of who was going to be there in attendance?
Yeah, I think I know my family, like my parents, and then I vaguely kind of remember feeling that our family friends were going to be there that we sometimes spend Thanksgiving with. Like I haven't spoken to them in a really long time, but yeah, so like old family friends and my
Gotcha.
parents.
Okay. Yeah. So it is really about, that connection with with important people in your life, that family level of things. And again, I do counterfactuals too to say what it's not. You are not going to a Christmas party to see your sister. That would be maybe more about your relationship with your sister. This is more, we're going up a level to say, okay, it's about connection with family and how you feel about that and how you enjoy spending time with them. And that you're going to miss them. Obvious interpretation on that side of things, but you're running late and you're lost. That's interesting. So you mentioned you're not going to be there. So you're in a way you're showing yourself this attempt to connect. You want to, but you can't. And not just connection with another person as in like I feel distant from them, but in this sense a real physical connection of like you're not just late and lost. You're not going to be there at all. You can't make it. The lateness and lostness will persist until the season has passed. There's no, you're not going to be able to get there at all. But the interesting part I think is in some sense you say you don't care. I don't know that there's a don't care as. Let me ask you, rather than state it as a fact. There's a level of multiple meanings to the idea of don't care. Don't care. I hate those people anyway. There's also don't care.
Like
Acceptance in a way, but also I'm lost in the moment of wow, it's so beautiful out here. It doesn't bother me as much that I can't get where I'm going as fast as I might wish, or I thought I wished, because I'm actually kind of enjoying the ride too. There's an element with that.
Yeah, that resonates.
Nice. He has his own interpretation. He says, screw your notes. Oh, he's really going to eat the paper. Don't do
Oh,
that. Eat my hand. That's fine. I got calluses. He will. But then also the element of being poorly dressed for the season. You know, you're wearing insufficient clothing to the weather in that sense.
yeah.
So there's what is winter? It's a season, but it's a certain state of nature as well. And like I was saying, broad strokes, the death, it's the death or cold, the dark, the leaves fall off the trees. Nothing's blooming. But being inadequately dressed, see that's also if the dream focused on that, if you were naked at a Christmas party, that would fall under the category of what's called the typical dream of inadequate clothing. And it usually has to do with being exposed or embarrassed. This one seems to do more with preparation for the task in a way. I don't know if that makes sense. There's like, what am I doing out here lost in the dark, in the snow? It's beautiful, but I'm not wearing the right clothes. He's really going to eat the paper. Stop. I told you can eat my hand. Come here. What does that say to you when you think about that? You know, insufficient clothing, inappropriate to the environment, insufficient to the environment.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I live in Mexico and it's so
That's right.
hot. And I've been really craving, like I also feel like I'm missing that cold because it's cozy and it like also symbolizes to me like getting close to people and like having these intimate nights on the couch or whatever.
That's true.
And um so yeah, it almost felt like I don't have that. Like I didn't have the right clothes. Like I didn't own it. And it kind of feels like in life I also like I don't have that in my life because I'm living in this place that's like too warm.
That's true. I mean, if you lived there, say your entire life, and it never dropped below 70 degrees in the summer or in the winter, you might not even own a parka, you know, a jacket that's made for the snow when it's like literally, 2 degrees above zero. Um, I don't know why I get the feeling that in the context and with everything that's going on, there's a meaning to it that is literal, and that dreams love to do this. They love to take something that's literally true and say, oh, hey, look, it's also metaphorically true. Get it, and they shove it in our face, and they love puns. Um, so I think there's also an element there of what am I trying to say? It's I'm fighting for words today as much as he's fighting the words on paper. Come on, buddy. Um, I don't know why lack of ability or skill in a certain department.
Mm.
And I think I think I'm only thinking that because I think it relates to the second half of the dream in a way. And I'm expressing it very poorly, but I'm trying to get the general concept. You know, if you have a certain task, let's say literally, take the dream sequence literally. I wish to arrive from one destination to another. I need to survive the journey by bringing the proper equipment. I need clothing to keep out the cold. You didn't bring it, so you're not prepared for that. So there's something along the lines of saying, it might be a retroactive excuse making in some ways of like, well, it's okay because I don't even have a winter coat anyway. And if I was on this journey, it might be beautiful. I might enjoy the scenery, but I would get lost. I'd be late. There's, what am I trying to say? It sounds like you're a bit conflicted about the idea of not being with family during, and fair enough. Like if it's something you've done every year and this is the first time, you're like, I might have decided this is what I'm going to do for entirely valid reasons, but I don't have to like it entirely. I want to stop there for a second. I don't know if all of that came together for you in any kind of particular way. Maybe like I'm not prepared to be away from my family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, there is something there. I'm also having trouble. Like it's almost like I can see it, but I can't quite
Me
express
too.
it.
Like I don't. What is this shape? I'm like, inside of me are three blind men touching an elephant, and they all think it's a snake or a tree.
Yeah, I think there's also this feeling of like distance, like it actually create because like my sister, I don't remember my sister being underdressed, and I felt like, oh, everyone's at this party and they probably, they came early and they knew how to get there, and so it's almost like a distance, like, oh no, I'm kind of an outsider.
Mm.
Um,
In the past, have all the same people in your family come together every year? This seems like a big
yeah,
deal.
pretty
And,
much, yeah.
and so you have, by this decision, by this choice not to say fly home or travel and be there at these parties, you've distanced yourself. So maybe
Mm,
being inadequately dressed is less about that, but a sign of I am I am now different because
yeah.
I'm maybe the first one not doing a thing, and that's very very difficult too. It's like changing patterns, and I assume there's a good reason. Or not. Well, do you want to say what the reason is? You're engaged in stuff that you really can't stop, and travel is not an option right now. So it's a practical impossibility. Is it a choice for other reasons?
No, it kind of just, well, it's the year where my sister will be with her husband and their family, and they're in
Okay,
Chicago. And typically, like, I've been the single one, and so I always like we would all go to Chicago, for example, or we'd
okay,
all go to North Carolina. But then this year is my second year with my partner, and his mom is visiting here in Vallarta through
okay.
Christmas, and so the idea was, oh, my mom and dad will come here and we'll have Christmas together. But then it's basically super expensive and it doesn't work logistically for my parents. So, yeah, now that I say that, I'm like, that's not actually not my fault.
True, and but you that there's a layer in us that even if a certain situation was unavoidable, even if it was literally an act of God in a tornado, sometimes we still feel responsible. So there's part of that,
Yeah.
but also more layers on top of this stuff. You've set this. It is iconic in the dream of your personal experience of the holidays, and they take place in winter. But winter is also, as we were saying, the time of death of the, and this is the death of a family tradition in a way. You are through no fault of your own and for many multiple complications. And this happens, people form their own new family unit. So where you used to go to your parents' house, now you have your own relationship and maybe someday your own kids. And then that becomes the new tradition. And the old tradition is dead. It has died. It has suffered the winter of death, and then it's been reborn as a new tradition. But it's not the same. It's better maybe, or at least equivalent, but certainly not the same. And it's okay to grieve the loss of those type of things. Like, oh, I'm not a kid anymore. I don't go to the
Yeah.
parents' house and on Christmas morning or whatnot, or wake up to presents under the tree. We had to get used to that as well. And it is interesting that you said, it's your sister with you in the dream, and she plays a big part in why the tradition has changed. And you're with her, but you're not properly dressed like her. So there's yeah, I think there's an element of blaming yourself in that a little bit. We could connect to the clothing thing of like, or also the idea of I'm not prepared for this tradition to change.
Mhm.
I'm lost, and I'm lost in the snowy woods without this tradition in a way. Like, what do I do now? Where am I going to end up? And I'm not ready for this. I'm not properly dressed. And that's just the first half of the dream. If that all makes sense to you in a way, is there more you
It
want to
does.
focus on that?
It does, yeah.
And then what you mentioned was there was kind of a fuzzy middle. Like, oh, I don't really know what happened then. But then it was spring, and that's perfectly fine. A lot of times there's just hard scene cuts, like fade to black, and you're following a new character in a new area of the,
Mhm.
of the world. Um, I don't know why I wrote down fuzzy middle, because the fact that you remembered there was something, the vague impression of something, like what they say, an image seen through a glass darkly, in that sense, the idea that there is, why was there something and not nothing? Why wasn't it a hard cut? I think what makes sense to me, or the suggestion I would make, is there is a unknown quantity in the middle between this decision or experience and the next, what comes after. So You may have an idea of what comes after, but you may not have an idea of how to get there. Like, how did you get out of winter? What happened to winter? Why is it spring? What did you do in the meantime? None of that may be critically important. So sometimes our brain just elides over that stuff. Just skips like, don't worry about it. And it's spring. Go, which is perfectly fine. Are you going to get down now? Get down. I think he's done. I'm going to count the holes in the paper at some point. I see at least 3. He's never done that before. He's never attacked the paper.
Oh my God, there's 2. I totally did not realize there was 2 cats.
There are 3. I don't know where baby went. She's probably sleeping.
Oh my goodness.
So this one is Wookie. She is our elderly tortie.
Oh.
And he wants to play with her because he's like a year and a half old and she is like 16 and she's not having it. So every now and again he will calm down and he'll lick her head and she'll let him cuddle with her. But when he tries to pat her tail, she just says, "Get away from me." But anyway, yeah, maybe we'll see baby. But usually she comes up here. She's sleeping, I'm sure.
Oh.
Okay, we got where are we at? Hey! And if you won't leave her alone, I got to yell at him. Compressed air.
Classic.
If you don't want to wet your bed, with a spray bottle. Okay, so we've got, now it's warm and sunny in the spring, and I think this is also a hopeful thing of like with every death there is a rebirth. And we've talked about reincarnation briefly. It's like I think this physical world is not the end. I think it's impossible. Conservation of energy style. There's got to be something. There was something before. There will be something after. And humans also understand cycles. Every exit is an entrance to somewhere else in that sense. So in big picture style, probably telling yourself, okay, there will be a new spring. There will be something else. And what part of that new spring is, I think this second half, and you can tell me if this hits right off the bat, but I think it's talking about leaning into your current business enterprise. I think there's something that like are you having a moment with that or?
Yeah.
A little bit. Okay. I wasn't sure how to read your face on that. I've got the legitism and a lot of people say they do. Diagnosed for sure. I think that's part of what gives me my power. Let me share my squirrely brain with you. Bam, here's a bunch of ideas. And then it actually works. So that was another reason I couldn't get along in the corporate environment. Couldn't read situations very well. Couldn't read people's emotions. Like, what does that face mean? Why is that person crying? That's weird for a guy in psychology, but I had a different approach to things. I'm like, we're going to be a little more pragmatic and problem solving about this thing. And I understand you are reporting sadness. I understand and I validate your emotions.
Weird. I validate that. Yes, I'm definitely having a moment with my business. It's definitely in a big transition, and when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, it is definitely. It feels like there's some symbolism of having faith.
Yeah, and having faith was, the idea of, and the first thing when you were describing all of this, the first thing that came to my mind was the broadly Christian perspective of, well, where is faith if there's proof, in a way, and so. But so it's spring and there's like the rebirth, it's new growth. It also connects to the, you're losing one thing in old family traditions, but you're on a whole new enterprise with the business side of things. And that's growing and there's tremendous potential. There's buds opening up everywhere and the birds are singing, the sun's shining, beautiful flowers. So I think if we do relate it primarily, so you're outside and you're with a friend and the specific friend.
Yeah.
You can't eat the paper. What is your relationship with that person? Are they related to your business? Are they a particularly spiritual person?
Yeah, she's a spiritual person. I just love her so much. We haven't seen each other in a while, and she's with my other friend right now, and so they're together, and I'm not there. But yeah, she's definitely a very spiritual human.
Okay, very cool. So that's what I was gonna suggest, is that this person probably represents a validation of the direction you're traveling with your business or the new avenues you're opening up, or represents an aspirational figure, like someone you'd like to become more like. In certain, not universally, but in certain aspects. And I think, again, as it relates to the business end of what you've got going on right now. Just like, we all, if I dreamed that Gandalf was with me and he was showing me how to properly be a wizard, I'd be like, yep, that's one of my aspirational heroes. No wonder he would be in that dream teaching that specific thing. So, and also I think because you brought them with you to this new spring, I think you're also saying something along the lines of, I can bring what they have to what I do, in the aspects that I wish to emulate in that sense. I don't know if that seems likely.
Yeah. And I think that when you were talking, I remembered that she had just like really congratulated me on something that wasn't business related, but I just went free diving for the second time and got like
Oh.
certified and went really deep, and I was so proud of myself. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're like an athlete, like you don't call yourself that." And she was really hyping me up, and was like,
Nice.
"I'm so proud of you." And so I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, actually I think that was like even maybe the day before I had the dream.
That's another great element too. The idea of, so you brought with you perhaps your number one cheerleader of like,
Mm.
you can do this, you got this. But then you take another critical second look at, okay, what am I actually doing here? I am witnessing the beauty of nature, the rebirth of the spring, and focused on these flowers. And it's interesting. Speaking of the diving, you said the flowers had a very coral color, like
Oh
coral in the
yeah.
ocean. Yeah. So probably the reason you mentioned that, it's another layer of the synchronicities in the dream of like, not only did you bring your cheerleader with you, she was cheerleading most recently your diving experience. So here's coral flowers, and sometimes coral under the water can be very beautiful in a way of flowers, a feature of the natural environment that has its own unique beauty. And you're watching the petals bloom as if in a time lapse, and that's fantastic too. It's got a lot of layers to it in terms of watching flowers bloom can be a little bit like watching paint dry. It's happening just so slowly. You can't really appreciate the process. So a lot of times in our mind, we speed it up and going, I know where this is going. Let me show myself. There will be an unfolding. It will be beautiful. But also probably that it's going to occur a lot faster than you think. It's likely to occur faster than you believe. That it's probably, there's a part of you at least that's saying, I know where this is going, but also the time lapse element of it is, you didn't just say that to yourself. You didn't just say, oh, look, I found flowers that are blooming and I know how long it took. You actually showed yourself the process sped up for some reason. So I'm thinking there's something in there that's like a validation of, keep at it. It'll happen faster than you think. There's some part of you that genuinely believes that. I think that's a possible thing we could attribute to that. And not only did you appreciate it, but you said, I need to capture this. I need to record this. And the purpose was, I need to show other people so that they can believe what I believe, see what I see. In a way, you want them to validate your experience by saying, look, I'm not crazy. Here's the proof. Let me show you that the flowers have fairies in them. This is the magic that I'm trying to communicate. Let me give you proof. And the fairies say, you can't show them that kind of proof. That they need to see that for themselves. And I think this is why, almost immediately I'm like, okay, going back to the beginning, this is related to your business practice. What you're trying to do is open people's eyes to a more spiritual practice, this ritual, this connection with more deeper philosophical themes that help promote meaning. And there's probably a part of you that maybe is a little frustrated with folks that are reluctant, or that are resistant in some ways, that are like, look, man, if I could just show them the fairies on video, they would understand what I understand. But you're also you being one who can see the fairies are also in communication with them. And they say, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. It's not going to happen. You just have to tell them, look, there's flowers. And if you look real close, you might see a fairy. You might, I don't know. Just see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Anything else on that? I think that's it. I think that might be the best I can do. And I think we're out of time too, unfortunately. But well, what
Is
do you
there
think?
anything else that was like really deep? Because I mean, we can go a
A
little bit
little bit
over.
longer. I
If
think
there's something that was really itching at you, I'm willing to go
well,
there.
I think we kind of hit everything I could think of at the moment. What I always tell or ask people is there anything else, or is there anything within the experience that we maybe touched on but need to go deeper, or I completely missed because I just forgot to write it down as you were describing it? Anything stand out to you as like, wait a minute, we need to talk about this a little bit more? And I'm happy to do that as well. I might be out of ideas to suggest though.
Let me think.
I'll look at my notes too.
I feel like the fairies are talking to me right then now, and they're like, it's actually simple. It's actually so easy. Like that is, I think that is like the beautiful message of you can't prove something for somebody else. Like everyone has to want to be on this journey, and um, you can bring people to the flowers, but you can't force them to sit there and watch them bloom, or you can't force them to stay and like experience the magic. But
Oi.
yeah.
Sorry. No, me too. I think isn't this amazing? I mean, I have this experience with dreamers all the time that we go into it and we're like, what is this thing? What is happening here? And in a way, I love the metaphor of a puzzle. It's like it's putting together a puzzle where you really can't even see what's on the box. You just have all these pieces, and you know where the corners are and the flat sides, and you can build the frame around it, and that's kind of what we do. And you kind of know there's certain colors and vague that looks like it might be a school bus and etc. But until you start putting it together, and then you see the whole image, and you're like, well, that wasn't that complicated at all. But it was. It took a minute to get there. We had to kind of really talk it through and check it out. And it's one of those weird experiences. Like, well, that was easy. No, not really. It just feels like it once you go, well, that's obvious now that we've figured it out.
Yeah. So, and actually, the whole winter part felt really insignificant. Well, it didn't feel insignificant, but it was kind of like when I woke up, I was like, oh my God, fairies live inside flowers. Like, this is so cool. And I didn't really think about the connection between the first part of the dream and kind of the death symbolism and like the change and feeling a little bit lost. And so yeah, that was pretty spot on. Like, definitely resonates.
Very cool. Yeah, and dreams are it's a free flowing stream of consciousness where each idea leads to the next. So there's a reason it started in a certain place and ended in a certain place. And if you can kind of connect those dots between the two, you get that narrative explanation that hopefully ties it all together and says, well, here's the broader theme. I've described it as thought experiments, and we could do them when we're out loud. What would it be like to move to a new city? Would I want to? Okay, well, what do I think that would be like? Do I think it's worth the hassle? How much of a hassle is it? What would I have to change and give up? And I need I need a new bank account, and I need a new address. I got to change utilities. You start getting all these things, and one thought leads to another. And then if you ask yourself a question, and by the end of it, you go, wow, that's a lot of work. I don't think I want to do that. And maybe, or you get to the end of it and you say, actually, that's a lot of work, but it seems like it's worth it because where I'm at, I don't want to be anymore, and something's got to give. So I think I'm going to go. And you just ask a question, you give yourself an answer at some point. And sometimes the answer is, God, I don't know. Maybe I should ask somebody else. Maybe I should talk it over, or I should sleep on it a little bit more.
Maybe my dreams will reveal the answer.
I think they do. I think when I tell people to sleep on it, I literally mean go to bed and hopefully wake up in the morning. I can't tell you that. So I'm always jealous of people that remember their dreams because I generally don't. It's very rare I remember I was even dreaming at all. By the time I woke up, it's gone, long gone. I just have like the sensation that I've been laying in bed for a while. And that's the only thing I remember. Very rarely I get dreams and that I can even remember happened. I had a whole point to this. Something about that. So I'm a little, anyway.
But do you still feel like when you sleep on it, when you sleep on something,
yes, that was the point.
Happening.
Yeah. I will not remember a dream at all. I will wake up with an answer in the morning. I've lost count of how many times, especially since I started paying attention to it over the last 10, 15 years or so. I'm like, this is real. So I tell people, follow your dreams. They know the way. Yeah.
Mm.
I love that. I love it. I stole that from somebody else. I don't know who said it. Someone more famous than I am. Well, if you are satisfied for now with the answer, you can always, of course, you have my full permission to keep thinking about it without me. That's perfectly fine. Then we'll wrap up the show.
Yeah.
And we'll get you out of here. Okay, let's do this. Got to go back to the notes. Look at all these holes. That's fake. Bubba, you're a crazy man. Oh, I'm bleeding too. Nice. Well, I told him he could play with my hand. This has been our guest dreamer, Elisa Williams-Sin, from currently residing in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. She is a modern-day witch, herbalist, coach, and part-time astrologer, creating spaces for people to connect with their purpose and health so that they can live with vitality. You can find her, of course, on Instagram at I can't read my own handwriting.
The Balanced Herbalist.
It looks like Beloved. That works too. The Beloved. The Balanced Herbalist is now the Beloved Herbalist also. It is Instagram at the Balanced Herbalist. And of course, she also has another website, lisaws.com. I'll put them both in the description for you. For my part, would you kindly like, share, and subscribe? Tell your friends. Always need more volunteer dreamers. I do video game streams Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific, most days of the week. This episode brought to you in part by ABC Book 18, Oniro Chronologia, Volume 4, Prima Reliquarum, The First of What Remains. Of course, you can get all this and more at BenjaminTheDreamWizard.com. And if you'd head on over to BenjaminTheDreamWizard.locals.com, building a community there, it's free to join, attached to my Rumble account. And the last thing to say is, Elisa, thank you for being here. I've enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure.
Awesome. And everybody out there, thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time.